This introductory video covers the basic concepts of how to sell licensed software with Stripe. We're going to start with the user experience. We'll show a fully automated process to purchase, deliver, and license software to a computer. For this example, we'll be using a desktop application that might run on a Mac, Windows, or Linux machine. The process starts by collecting credit card information from the user to initiate the process, but we'll also be looking at the downstream part of that process that delivers out a serial number to the user, allows them to download an installer, then launch and activate the application they just purchased. The process typically starts from the developer's website, where there's a buy page where the user can read about a product, and they'll have various purchase buttons to initiate the purchase process. If the user clicks a button to initiate the purchase, they're taken to a screen where they can securely provide credit card information to make that purchase. And once they enter their card data, they'll click a pay button. Once the order is processed, the user is taken to a download page. From the download page, the user gets more information about how to continue on with the software they just purchased, where they can click a button to download the installer for the software, and then they can launch and activate the software with a serial number that typically comes in an email message. Desktop applications are typically delivered to a user's computer by downloading an installer onto their machine and then running the installer. The job of the installer is to handle modern OS security concerns like code signing and notarization on a Mac, and then install the software in any support files, for example, PDF user guides, onto the machine where they're supposed to be. Here we've downloaded an installer to our Mac computer, and when the user double clicks, they're presented with some type of a screen with some branding information, and then the user clicks the install button. They might be presented with some type of a license agreement that the developer wants the user to confirm before actually doing the install process. Once the install process completes, the installer screen will disappear, and at the end of the process, there will be a folder with the installed files on their computer. On a Mac computer, those files are going to be put into the applications folder, and here we see our folder that was added with our application, and then if we had a user guide, those or other files might be included. If you just have a simple application on Mac, the end result can simply be the application setting inside the applications folder. On a Windows computer, the process is similar. The user runs the installer, goes through a series of screens. At the end of the process, a folder is created under Program Files or Program Files x86, and inside that folder will be the application and support files like PDF user guides and such, and then there'll probably be some type of a shortcut on the desktop where the user can launch the application. Once the user has installed the application on their computer, they can drag the installer file to the trash or perhaps copy it to another computer if they want to install the application there. We're now going to launch and activate the application to our machine. This is a licensed application, so on first launch, the user is going to be presented with some type of an activation screen. Here we see an activation screen that requires a serial number. This serial number was delivered to the user in an email message when they made the purchase. The user is going to have to enter their name and some other information during the activation process. And once the application is activated, it will then launch. And from now on, the user can run the software forever on this computer or based on the terms of the license that was assigned to that application. In this example, we have a perpetual product license that runs forever, meaning once it's been activated to the computer, the user can run it for the rest of their life, or there's even mechanisms where they can securely move that licensed application to other computers. There's other types of licensing possible. For example, you could have a time-limited trial license that allows the user to launch and activate without a serial number, but use the software for a limited period of time to try it out. Or a try-buy application where the user could try it for a period of time, then buy a serial number and activate it and run it permanently. Another possibility is a subscription where the user pays a monthly or annual fee to continue to use the software. These are all possibilities of how the software can be licensed. Let's do a quick recap of the user experience, then we'll talk about the tools and setup process involved. The process typically starts on a buy page where the user clicks a button to make a purchase. Once they've purchased, they'll be taken to a download page where they can download the installer onto their computer and given instructions on how to proceed. Now that they have the installer on their computer, they can double click and run the installer. That installs the actual application to their computer, and then they can double click the application, launch, and activate it with the serial number they received in their email message. So the starting point of this process is we're going to log into a Stripe account. When you log into a Stripe account, you'll be able to set up information about each product that you want to sell. You can set up a simple product purchase, a one-time purchase where the user buys the application and then they can use it forever, or you can set up a subscription where the user signs up for a subscription that periodically charges their credit card maybe once a month, once a year, or whatever the terms of the subscription period are. The other thing you'll be doing within your Stripe account is you'll be linking your Stripe account to an online activation server that holds a batch of serial numbers that gets delivered to the customer when they make a purchase. And for that, we're using Safe Activation. Here is an example of a Safe Activation account. Now there's various steps in the setup process for Stripe and also for the Safe Activation account, but those are all outlined in a step-by-step process, which I'll show you in just a minute. One of the screens in your Safe Activation account is a batch of serial numbers that you've pre-generated. So whenever a purchase occurs, one of these serial numbers will be marked as used and automatically delivered in an email message out to the user. The Excel software website has hundreds of demonstration videos and PDF white papers on how to protect and license virtually any kind of software. You can also see how to set up an automated purchase and delivery process using Stripe, PayPal, or perhaps an online storefront like Shopify. You can produce protected applications from a variety of starting points. For example, you might have a native application that you've developed in C# or Delphi or Java, or perhaps it's an Excel workbook that you've wrapped into an application or a Unity 3D game. You might be selling software that runs on Mac computers, on Windows computers, or Linux computers, or even mobile applications. So you'll find a lot of resources for how to go about the protection, licensing, and automated sales process by looking at the videos, or in this case, we're going to be looking at a PDF for setting up the Stripe purchase process. So if we go to the info panel and under white papers, you'll find there is a PDF here that you'll want to take a look at if you're trying to set up a Stripe process. So basically it covers a step-by-step process for what you set up in your Stripe account, and then within your Safe Activation account, and then how you link the two together with webhooks. And for this project and most projects, this is a procedural process that requires no programming. But there are very many steps in that process. So this PDF, for example, goes through that entire process for a Stripe account and a Safe Activation account. Let's look at a little bit more depth into our Stripe account. If we go to Stripe and go to the dashboard, we're going to log into our Stripe account. And once you're in a Stripe account, there's basically two modes of operation. You can either run in live mode where you're processing live credit card information for customer orders, or you can do the equivalent in a test mode. And for the purpose of this video, we created our buy button using a test mode of our Stripe account. So the main thing you're doing in your Stripe account is you're setting up a product button or a subscription button, and you'll be able to create a purchase URL from that and just put it, assign it to a image on your website to initiate the purchase process. If we go to the product screen, and let's take a look at what we've done here. You have a screen where you can name your product, give a price, and provide some additional information. And you can also define when the purchase is complete, where the user is taken. In this case, they're taken to a download page on your website where they can actually download the purchase software. And as outlined in that PDF guide that we looked at just a bit ago, you'll end up making a payment link, which is just a URL that you can ultimately associate with buttons on your website to actually make the purchase. So that's kind of the basic process of what you're going to do in your Stripe account. You're going to set up a button for making a purchase or a periodic subscription, and then you're going to be setting up some webhooks which are just links between your Stripe account and the Safe Activation account that automates the downstream process where it actually delivers out an assigned serial number for the purchased product. So we've discussed how the purchase and delivery process is accomplished through the interaction between the Stripe account, which processes the credit card information and then securely delivers that order data in a webhook, to the Safe Activation account, which assigns a serial number and delivers it out in an email message to the user. But Safe Activation can automate other steps in the process. For example, we saw where when the user launches the application for the first time, they're presented with an activation screen where they enter that serial number to securely activate the application to their computer. That was accomplished by Safe Activation. You can also manage the license thereafter or manage a software subscription. For example, if it was a subscription type license, the subscriber checkbox would be set for each of these serial numbers, and as long as the user paid the monthly or annual fee, they'd use the software forever. You could clear the subscriber checkbox at any time, and that would disable their license. You can also suspend a license by setting the suspend checkbox for a serial number. You can allow the software to be used on multiple computers by increasing the max activation field to, let's say, 5, and then that same serial number can work on to activate the software on 5 different computers. And Safe Activation can automate other steps in the process as well. For example, you can work with affiliates or resellers of your software. A couple of other tools we used during this project is we used a quick license application to define the type of license we wanted, like time limited trial license, a perpetual product license, a try-buy license, a software subscription license, and that produces a file that can be applied to your software in one of two ways. You could insert a little bit of programming code in your software and call an API command and then apply that license to produce your licensed application. Alternatively, you can use the Add License Wrapping tool that comes with Quick License by simply selecting your unprotected application and the license file you produce with Quick License, set a few options and click Build, and it will build the licensed version of the application. And then finally, we used Click Install to actually build the installer. And that can handle things like code signing, where you can code sign the application so it's trusted by virus scanners or by the OS on a Mac or Windows computer. And you can also notarize the software with Apple, which is a new security mechanism that Apple has introduced for downloading software onto a modern Mac computer. All these applications are available for Mac, Windows, and you can also produce licensed desktop applications for Linux computers. Hopefully this video has been a good starting point and covers the key concepts of how to protect, license, and sell software or any digital product. To learn more, go to the Excel software site, and on the video page, you'll find a lot of different categories of videos for protection or protecting Microsoft Office applications like Excel or Access or Word and so on.